and says, yes, this is a legitimate case, she should be given her freedom because she's being mistreated. In this case, it will count as a khula because she initiated it, and she will be then considered divorced after the iddah. So that will be a divorce because essentially there is no alternative for her. Because if you don't open this door, what is the alternative? She will remain in limbo. What is the alternative? So we have said that with the permission of, not the permission, with the validation of a neutral faqih, and there's legitimate abuse, then it will count as a divorce. Otherwise, it is not technically a divorce, because the divorce is in the hands of the husband, as the Qur'an is very clear in this regard. So now we move on to a little bit of economics here. See, I'm doing this quickly, inshallah, right? Hope it's beneficial, inshallah. Otherwise, you spend 10, 20 minutes on one question. You guys gave the fatwa about Bitcoin. How about Ethereum? The fatwa was Bitcoin and similar coins. So Ethereum is also permissible. So any coin that has gained traction and legitimacy and is considered to be a legitimate means of exchange, the same ruling will apply. And so the fatwa you read about Bitcoin, it also applies to Ethereum and other mainstream coins, Cardano, Solana, all of these mainstream ones that we're familiar with. The ones that, the fads that come and go, the ones that are very, very dodgy, pun intended if you know your Doge coins, but the ones that are dodgy, those coins, definitely you should be very, very skeptical, and the ruling would be more on the prohibition than the jawaz, wallahu a'lam. Question, I am in debt, can I go for umrah? Response, if it is an immediate debt that your debtor wants to be repaid, then the obligation to repay the debt is more than the obligation for umrah. But if it is a long-term debt and you are allowed to pay over 5, 10, 20 years, then you may go for umrah, no problem, wallahu a'lam. Question, what is your opinion about Islamic mortgage companies in the USA? Do they really follow Islamic laws? This has been asked every single time, and I've given the same answer. The Islamic mortgage companies are not all the same. Some of them are better than others. And look at who their Sharia advisors are. Nobody says that Islamic mortgage companies are 100% clean and pure. They have to work their way around the system. The question is it better than the alternative? And most fuqaha say yes, it is better. And one group says that no, it's really almost the same, so you might as well use the default, which is the mortgage from the bank. So you have all of these fatwa out there, and I don't want to increase your confusion. You have to ask yourself, who do you trust? And then go to them and follow their fatwa, no problem. Because some people say that Islamic mortgages are more pure and better than the alternative. And others say they're almost the same. In fact, they are the same. So there's no point going through the Islamic one, you have to pay more. And this is a valid difference of opinion. Amja has one fatwa, the Fiqh Council has another fatwa. So whichever one you do, inshallah ta'ala, you will find good over here. Okay, question here. Now this is a very difficult one, subhanAllah. I think one of our youth must have asked this. In the future, we will have AI-powered female robots. Can this be considered milk yameen? I think this young man has too much time on his hands, and let him engage more in ibadah and dhikr, inshallah. And these are questions I hope we don't have to answer too soon, but if we do, then we will sit down as the Fiqh Council and discuss a very difficult and sensitive topic. I actually added, somebody sent this, and so I'm literally quoting, and I will say when that happens, we will have to answer this question. Otherwise, Allah musta'an. I don't even want to go there. Allah musta'an. Question, we have a number of kids. We don't want to have any more kids. Is it sinful for us to now start using protection to not have any children? Not at all. If you choose to not have children for your personal reasons, as long as it's not because, oh, we cannot afford children, because Allah is the Razzaq. As long as that is not the reason. You say, emotionally, I'm drained out. Time-wise, I don't have the time for anymore. This is legitimate. You may do so, but realize your doing will not change Allah's qadar. And if Allah has willed you will have a kid, you will have a kid. And realize that you do not know the future, but is it jaiz? Yes, it is jaiz. You may use any type of birth control and not have any children for any reason that is not financial. Financial, it is not allowed, because when you say, I cannot afford, now you're challenging Allah's qadar. Allah Azza wa Jal is the Razzaq. Okay, question here. We have an extended family, we're living together. Is it permissible to make an agreement with all of the mothers in the family to nurse each other's children? There's multiple brothers and wives and whatnot, and so we want the children to be nursed together for the sake of creating mahram. between these children. We want to do it intentionally. We want to make them mahram between these children and their female aunts, so that now there's not going to be any issue when they're older. Is this something that is permissible to do or not? So it is permissible, but you think it through, because you are restricting, what Allah might have, because this is now 2 babies here. They might grow up to fall in love and get married, right? You are making them milk brother and sister. You understand, foster. You understand what I'm talking about, the foster thing. You're making them brother and sister. You're effectively making it haram to do so. So is it permissible? It is permissible. Should you do it? You need to think about this and really have a discussion. I don't know, is this wise to do? And I would generally say I'm not leaning towards this. I don't see the point. Just because you don't want to wear a headscarf every time you walk into that particular part of the house, I think, Allahu Alam, I don't see this to be the overriding need. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Okay? Question here. If hadith cannot be proven by the Western method, does that bring doubt into the hadith for us as Muslims? No, not at all. Remember when the Prophet went on Isra and Mi'raj, and they came to the Prophet and they said, you are saying the Prophet went to Isra to Jerusalem in one night. What did Abu Bakr as-Siddiq say? Did he start saying, oh, don't you know Einstein's theory of relativity and quantum physics, and what did Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu say? He said it, so it's true. So Muslims understand that as believers, when you're outside of Islam, they don't believe the Qur'an is from Allah. Do you think they're going to believe the Sunnah from the Prophet? It's understood they have a different methodology of doing things. So their understanding of science and ilm is different than our understanding, and our religion is not based upon their extrapolation. We should have confidence in our system and not have to worry about their interpretation of how the hadith have been preserved. For us, we believe, listen to this, the Quran needs the Sunnah, and the Sunnah is a part of Islam. We all agree to this, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised to protect His religion, correct? And there is no religion without, if Allah had willed, He would have sent the Quran to a mountain and left it there. But He didn't. He sent with the Quran. Who else did He send? A Prophet ﷺ. Without the persona of the Prophet ﷺ, there is no religion. So, if Allah Azza wa Jal requires us to follow the Sunnah, this automatically means what? The Sunnah must be preserved, or else there is no Islam. Now, we as believers have our mechanism of doing that, and we should accept it, no problem. Don't be surprised, those outside of our tradition, don't be surprised when they have their own mechanisms and they have their way. Say this, they're not going to accept it. I'll give you one anecdote, one example. And again, this is a technical topic. Whoever's interested, go study and listen to both sides. But as practicing Muslims, you don't have to worry about the other side unless you're academically interested. Let me give you an example. When I was first taught the Western system 22 years ago. So there's something called the common link. There's something called the source. So what happens is you find 5, 10, 15 narrations. They typically converge on one person, maybe a tabi'i or a taba tabi'i, and then that person narrates from one person back to the Sahaba, back to the Prophet ﷺ. So in one class, I remember the first time we did this, we had a whole analysis. This is the Western method, not the Eastern method, right? Not the Islamic method. We had analysis. It all converged on, I want to say Imam Malik or maybe Sufyan al-Thawri, I forgot. It's been 21 years. Maybe let's say Imam Malik. Let's just say it converged on Imam Malik. So all 5, 6 change, they're going to Imam Malik. Then Imam Malik narrates from Nafi'. Nafi' narrates from Ibn Umar. Ibn Umar narrates from the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So the professor in class, he was saying, oh, so we see the source of the hadith, Malik, the origin of the hadith, the common link, Malik. And I'm just still fresh out of Medina, Kulliyat al-Hadith, graduate of hadith. And I asked a very naive question because I didn't understand what he's saying. So I raised my hand and said, are you suggesting that Malik ibn Anas just fabricated the tradition? Because you're saying the source, the origin, because from his mind, all of the narrations converge on this person, Imam Malik, right? So we don't find it before Imam Malik. So if it converges on Malik, and Malik says, Nafi' ibn Umar, the Prophet ﷺ, so he's saying the origin, the source. I said, are you saying Imam Malik fabricated? And he said, well, it is a possibility, yes. Like in his mind, he has no problem thinking that Imam Malik fabricated the hadith. Now, this type of presumption can only come from somebody who doesn't understand what Iman does to a person. Doesn't understand Imam Malik cannot possibly, it's just impossible. Now, forget Imam Malik, the Sahaba. I mean, what do we believe about the Sahaba? That they will never lie about the Prophet. Now, this is a belief we have, correct? What do you expect somebody who doesn't believe in the Sahaba? What do you expect them? So, understand that the science of hadith has certain presumptions that are very logical and reasonable for believers, 100%. But when you don't have iman, then those presumptions from your paradigm are not going to add up. So understand this point. And in the end of the day, we as Muslims don't need validation from external people. If you're interested, study both sides. A few people, unfortunately yours truly is one of them, a few people has to live in both worlds. I do go in that world. I also teach in this world. So understand, I have to navigate both worlds. And so when I'm in that world, I understand their presumptions. I have to navigate with their presumptions. And when I'm in this world, which is the real world, which is the world of Allah and His Messenger, then obviously hadith is a part of Islam. There is no Islam without Sunnah. There's no question about this, right? So understand this point. So no, we don't care what their verdicts are. We have our verdicts for faith-based. But whoever wants to contribute in that world, whoever wants to write papers in that world, present papers in that world, then obviously you have to follow that paradigm. And that's understandable. Most people don't have to do that. Unfortunately, for me, I have to. So understand when I say this, that I'm speaking from their paradigm, that they don't have the necessary tools that we have. We have a different set of tools. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Question.